Hangout on Air is live. We're here. Hello, everybody, and hello, Katherine and Spencer. Welcome to another 2120 Marketing Hangout. Today we're talking about something that we're all fond of. Since this is a marketing hangout for printers and direct mailers, we're going to talk print today. And how does print fit into today's marketing mix? Spencer and Katherine and I have talked a lot about some of the more esoteric online stuff over the last few episodes, and today we are talking about this. Spencer, you've got one too, right?
I got my own copy here too.
Yeah, talk about it a little bit. I got this in the mail yesterday and thought it fit perfectly.
Yeah, no, this is very timely, and yeah, this is the Content Marketing Institute, and they do a ton of content marketing online, talking about content marketing. But yeah, I'm trying to remember when I saw it. It might have been a few months ago, but saw they had a magazine and it was free, and I could sign up to get that, and so we've been getting the last few issues, and I sometimes click on their emails that come to me, and if I see an article that looks good, I'll go to it. But you know what? I definitely take this out and read it when I get it, because it's right in front of me. It's tangible. What do you think about it?
Well, absolutely. Joe Polizzi, who is I guess the founder of Content Marketing Institute, has been a real advocate for print and really made one of the points that we'll touch on today regarding direct mail. With all of the popularity of social networking and online and content marketing, inbound marketing, he says competition has gone down. And he advocates using direct mail as a part of your content marketing strategy simply because there's not much in the mailbox anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess our first question is the wide open one. How does print fit into a new age marketing mix? Katherine, what are your ideas there?
Okay, well, I have my own example of print I'd like to show you. This is from the Mohawk Paper Company. This is the Mohawk maker, and this is a great example of how print fits into the 21st century marketing mix, because a lot of the content that is in this printed newsletter starts out on the Mohawk blog. They do a little drip marketing. They'll post a poster like this on their blog to get everybody excited about getting it in the mail. And then 2 weeks later, after you're all excited about it, it shows up in your mailbox. And there it is. You can go through and look at content that you may have seen before. Maybe you missed it from their blog. So this is an excellent example of using print, because as soon as I got this, I took a picture of it and I tweeted it. That's what you want people to do, right? So they see it on your blog, they get it in the mail, then when they get it in the mail, they tweet about it. That's your goal, right?
Absolutely. There's a combination of online and offline, right? Spencer, yep. What you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's one of the more powerful ideas behind including print or mail as a part of the mix is so many people live online, but it allows you to get another touch in, but a very powerful touch. Just like you were talking about, there's less competition today in the mailbox, but there's still something about holding a piece of printed material in front of you. It stands out a little bit more from everything else that you're seeing online that's going so fast. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to do just like your example, Katherine, where you see it on the blog, you maybe get an email about it, and then you get something in the mail, and maybe it kind of was starting to hit them online, but then when they get that piece in the mail, it's like, oh wow, I recognize that, or I wanted to look at that. But I think you can do it the other way too. Starting in the mail and then moving people online and being able to capture people there and then continue that relationship online. So I don't think there's one right recipe for which comes first, but it's multiple touches from multiple directions.
Absolutely. We got started talking so quickly, and the three of us were talking ahead of time. We missed a few critical introductory points. This is an interactive program, and I see that we've got a question that came up, so obviously that function is working. If you'd like to ask a question and you're on Google+, you should be able to type in the question. If you are on Twitter, you can contact us by typing in using hashtag 2120marketing. And now we'll go back to the discussion. We got a question that says, what do you think is the ideal combination of print and digital marketing? And that's a great question. I wanted to make the initial point that print was the original content. We've talked so much about content marketing as being a trend, but print is a great way to lead. If you've got a new business especially, how are you going to create an audience? I mean, what options do you have really to create an audience? I can think of a couple. You can pay money, and you can do pay-per-click advertising, or you can do direct mail, and you can integrate everything that you're doing online and begin to build your audience using direct mail. What do you think? What's the best combination of print and digital marketing? Katherine, what's your ideas?
Well, it's like anything else. There's no, set combination that's going to work for everybody. It depends on, what you're trying to do. But I would say that I would try and do about 50-50 if you can. And the idea is, like you said, that you want to use print to send new messages, but you also want to use it to reinforce the messages that you're sending online. So everything, I think the big thing is keeping the consistency between your printed communications and your online channels, because that's where things tend to get a little muddled. It's not so much how often do I use these mediums, just do I keep my messaging consistent so everybody knows this is my brand. You can put, you start off with a new business. What do? You have your website, you have your social set up, and hopefully you have a hashtag that you want to use, and all these things you can use print to promote all the stuff that you're using online. And like you mentioned, you can use print to start the conversation. So I can't really say, oh, this is the best way to do it. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, Richard, what do you think about this question?
Well, I think from my perspective, print's the natural complement. People will react in different ways to a printed piece than they do to social. And I think print sticks around a little bit better. One of the experiences that I've had in my small business is that email has quit working for me. I started with a fairly decent email list and was sending weekly newsletters, and it seems to have just crashed. When I send something out in print, though, I get calls. I think that that print is very effective, and frankly, the stats bear that out. What we see in terms of measurements when people do studies bears that out. And Katherine has put together some interesting stuff for us. Do you want to go to that now, Katherine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Are you going to pull that up for me?
I am going to pull that up for you. Give me just a half a second.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if I can get this to work for us, let's see if we can get it.
Let's cross our fingers, everybody.
Yeah.
Technology.
Technology is lovely.
And see, that's the great thing about print is, you don't have the technical issues with print, but
Yeah, I can just hold this up and you can talk about it.
Yeah, we may have to go back to that too.
Okay.
All right, do we have a graph on screen?
We have a graph on screen. I don't know
Good
if
job.
it stays on screen when I talk about it, but it's staying on for me. What this is this came from an article that was shared on Marketing Land, which is a really popular publication that mostly talks about online marketing. And the author, I believe, was Danny Sullivan. But anyway, what they did was they compared different channels in terms of being the first touch point between a business and consumer. And what they found, as you can see in this this graph here, is that search is, online search is definitely the #1 channel as far as leads, but #2 was direct marketing, and we all know that direct marketing is a euphemism for print. The article itself didn't really get too involved in the print side of it, but I think that makes a very strong case for print as a tool for lead generation, especially like Richard was talking about for a new business. And I think the next graph covers the results, not just like the behavior, but the response rate on those leads. Did we change it? I can't see it.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. There you go. So now we see that even though search is the #1 way that people find a business, direct mail does the best job closing that deal. So a lead that doesn't close doesn't do a whole lot for your business. So I think the point here is that, like we were talking about competition online, is finding your business on a search engine might be really easy, but it's not personalized at all. So I think the key here is that the reason why print is working as the first touch is because it is tangible. It is something that you can sit there and hold in your hand and come back to it. When you're searching online, you see all these listings and they all look the same. So you're not going to remember who you clicked on. But when you get something in the mail, it stays in your memory. Maybe you put it away and you can come back to it later, and that eliminates the problem of having that third-party barrier between you and your target.
Hmm. The stats show that the answer to the question that every printer hears, especially from marketers, print's very relevant.
Right.
The next question, I guess, to me is how do we make the case? How would you suggest that a printer use print to demonstrate the relevance of print? I mean, let's practice what we preach and
Right.
use print in our own marketing to demonstrate what our customers can do. What do you think on that, Spencer?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely a fan of the eating your own dog food concept. But yeah, I think a good way to do it is, if you're going to send out a printed piece, is taking that messaging and maybe some core statistics on the power of print or direct mail, but then driving it back to the website and showing them how it fits in. And I mean, you could get really creative. You could send something out, drive them to a landing page online that maybe had a video or some more additional information to kind of continue that conversation. But I think a really powerful way is to drive them online and maybe have them download an ebook or something like that. And so now you've captured those multiple touch points. And this kind of, for me, brings up the study that Google did. It's called the 0 moment of truth. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's really interesting, but the basic concept behind it is outbound channels like print, TV, radio, really good for driving awareness of a need for a product or a service. But then people go online to do research because that's how people like to buy today. They like to consume information and do their own research. So you really need both pieces. You need the front end to drive awareness, and then you can control a little bit more of where you're driving them. You can drive them to your website rather than a competitor's website. But if you're missing the online piece, you could drive a lot of awareness, but then if you don't have a website that is up to par and can take advantage of that, you could actually lose out on, you could be driving leads for competitors. So I think it's really important that you do have both.
I agree. Katherine?
I think that's a great point, talking about, that you need to have the website in place, because, the first thing I thought of was case studies of clients. People like to see what your printing company has done and the results that the campaign got for your clients. And, that's a great thing to do, is to send people to a landing page that has, white paper, or just, video testimonials, something like that, something that, because the problem I think that a lot of printers have in their messaging is that they just talk about print, and that's great. Matthew Parker has made this point several times, that nobody really cares about print. They just want to know how it can help their business. So your job as a printer is to show them, okay, well, this is the gap that print fills in your marketing mix, and this is the results that our client got from this type of campaign. And the more specific you can get about the client's goals and how print was used to achieve it, I think the better you'll make the case that print is absolutely a vital part of marketing these days.
Okay. We've got a good question here from Bill Michael. What type of technologies have you seen or incorporated for clients that help bridge the online and offline worlds? Any advice on best practices? Let me take a stab at that, and then you guys chime in. I think most printers at least have a knowledge of cross-channel. It's a buzzword, but what we've been talking about really is cross-channel marketing, where you use print to drive to a landing page. Some of the other tools, though, that have been prevalent for the last 5 years, Pearls, personalization. We've got some new technologies coming up. The one that is particularly interesting to me is augmented reality. But there's a lot of new whiz-bang stuff that you can incorporate into print that bridge online and offline, but sometimes the basic stuff is best. The point that Katherine and Spencer both made, having to do with a good website. If you've got a good landing page and strong content on your website and can drive people to the website with print, great. Another strategy is just to keep an offline component. The age-old newsletter is still a good idea. Let me shift to you on that, Katherine.
The best technology I can think of is variable data, because you can use a lot of the information that you've gathered about your clients from their behavior online to tailor content that's more relevant to them. My company does not do it, but there are a lot of print providers who offer this service, and yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but when you're talking about doing a really small campaign for repeat customers, you're going to get the absolute best response rates the more personal you go. So that's another thing that's really key about print, is using it as a channel to communicate with people who are already your customers. A lot of what we've been talking about is more like building lists and stuff like that, and the total first touch point, and print's really, really valuable if you use it as a tool to communicate with people who already made a purchase from you, or to bring back people that maybe you haven't heard from in a while. You've got all this data on when the last time somebody made a purchase was. If you see, you know what, it's been 6 months since these people have, ordered something from my business. You can create a campaign that's exactly about these people and send it off, and wow, the response you're going to get is going to be really great.
Katherine, you're talking about data and personalization, and that's not something that you just go stumbling into blindly.
I know.
You can get in trouble. We've got Spencer here who really comes from the direct mail background. Spencer, talk to us about databases and the trouble you can get into, and then how it can work the right way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tricky when you're trying to get in front of the right list, and I think for me, I just want to kind of jump back to the question that was asked. And Richard, you mentioned that sometimes it's best to just keep it simple. And that's what we found as one of the best ways to bridge that gap. There are things like QR codes, which you can go online and Google QR code creator, and there's pearls and things like that. But I found that just a really simple, URL that's maybe like tmrdirect.com/case study, and just putting that on the printed piece. Because some people do use QR codes, but some people don't have the app, and then there's kind of that barrier there where they have to go download. So I think it really does kind of depend on what your goal is from the start. But I just wanted to throw that in there, that I think a lot of times simple is better, and that's an effective way. But in terms of the database and the list, I think that's another place that there's actually a lot of opportunity in taking that initial list, but then when you drive them online, now you can build your own internal list, and I think that's always the where you want to get to, is how big can you build your own internal database, because then you've got more control over the quality, and you kind of know what the quality looks like of that list. But starting out, there's definitely some challenges in finding the right list. I don't know if I can speak too much to how to find the best list. That's not an area of expertise that I have within our company, but I think that building your own internal list is always the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the other aspect to any kind of database marketing, if you're going to do personalization, the list has got to be impeccably clean.
Yeah.
You don't want to send John Doe a catalog for Jean Doe's underwear.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, maybe you do.
You never know, but
Yeah, possibly it's vice versa.
Yeah.
If you are collecting data in your own list, I think it's just important to go through the list from time to time and make sure that it's clean and the data is correct, and assign someone to do that. If you do that, you can do a lot with personalization. If you don't have a list like that, or you're unsure of it, I think Spencer's point is very well made. A very simple landing page can do an awful lot. I mean, the whiz-bang stuff with pearls is great and interesting, and if you've got data you can customize the landing page with, wonderful. But if you don't, you can do well with just a general URL. Okay, where do we go from here, guys? We've covered a good bit of real estate here. What can print do that really isn't possible for inbound marketing? And let's go old school a little bit. Kate with Washington Graphics sent us an interesting question about using print with local marketing. Any ideas there?
Well, Richard, you mentioned a really good idea that I think you should share before I get into anything, because I thought your idea was fantastic.
Okay, well, Kate had asked, they're in the wide format printing business, and she had asked specifically about how would you use wide format as a means to help promote your business in local marketing. And in my printing business a few years ago, we had wide format capabilities as well, and we did something that was really very low tech, but it worked. We actually promoted the sponsor boards. We sponsored sponsor boards. Every nonprofit in the world, when they have an event, has a 2x3 sponsor board on an easel at the entrance of the event that lists all of their sponsors. And we just give that away, and then a lot of times we would get a good bit of the other print that went with the event. Yeah. Something like that's very direct use of print for promotion.
Yeah, we did something not quite that that strategic, but like our pressman, he's got a son that's in Little League baseball, so we printed several banners for the baseball team, and they're hanging, outside the park, and every parent that goes by sees our logo at the bottom, and that kind of stuff is, a way that number one, you're demonstrating your capabilities because we printed the banners just like you did the sponsor board. So you're showing them what you can do, and it's also associating it with a good cause. So I think that's a win. That's definitely a win-win for your print business. I was going to talk more about using EDDM specifically to target businesses because you are in wide format. You're probably going to be more in the B2B space. So that's another strategy, although it is more expensive to do EDDM for B2B than it is for residential, but I think there's a lot of potential there as far as local marketing goes.
I'll take that one a little bit further. I'm not sure saturation mailing is always the best thing for a business-to-business promotion. If you can get a narrow market list, that might work better, especially if you've got a specific initiative that you want to promote, or you're trying to achieve a specific goal. Let's shift to the last question here, and this goes back to the print days. In terms of content marketing, can you consider a newsletter to be content? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's what this Mohawk Maker is right here that I held up earlier. This is a printed newsletter. Yeah, it comes from a paper company, so it's pretty darn snazzy, I'm not going to lie, and that's something that I just like to throw in really quickly when we talk about print is design matters, okay? I wouldn't be holding this up if it looked like crap. I love it, and that's one of the things that, the reason why we use print is because we want people to want to touch it, right? Well, I don't want to touch things that are poorly designed. So, remember these things when you're creating your print campaigns is we want to make sure that what we put out looks as good as it possibly can.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, the newsletter and this magazine like we held up, here are, they kind of fall under that same category. I mean, the idea is that you've got content. I mean, content is what makes up the newsletter or the magazine, and it's kind of interesting. I posted a discussion on LinkedIn in a group this week, and we had written an article on the evolution of content marketing, and somebody chimed in and said, hey, you kind of didn't go back far enough, and they mentioned this John Deere magazine called, let me see, I think I've got it here, called the Furrow Magazine. And I think you said that they originally created it to help farmers become more profitable. And of course, I'm sure they have some products or services that they could sell to farmers, but the idea was that they were providing helpful content in the form of this magazine or newsletter, whatever it is. And by nature of that, they were able to get in front of their audience and stay in front because the information was helpful to that audience. And I mean, really, it's super basic, but that's the core, I feel like, of content marketing, no matter if it's online or offline, is, are you providing something that your audience is interested in or cares about and is helpful to them?
Absolutely, and you can still reach a portion of the market that is not online with printed content. It's not as significant as it once was. I read a stat earlier today that said that 81% of the U.S. population goes online at least once per day. Well, there's 19% that don't. You can reach them, and I would say there's probably a significant percentage that would appreciate something on paper to augment what they see online and to reinforce it. So we ran out of time again, guys. Half hour goes pretty fast.
That's a bummer because I was just going to talk about the Red Bull Bulletin.
Oh man, we got to hear about the Red Bull Bulletin. Let's hear about the Red Bull Bulletin, then wind us up, Katherine.
All right. Well, the very last thing is Red Bull is a very well-known for content marketing brand, in particular targeting the millennial generation, adults probably about 35 and under. And they, as a clout perk, they offer their Red Bull Bulletin, which is a magazine-style company, newsletter sort of deal. And it's interesting because it is targeting, like you're talking about, all these people going online and a certain percentage that don't. Well, millennials, we spend almost all our waking lives online, and Red Bull is using this magazine to promote to us because of that. Because it's offering a different experience, and they have all these resources, excellent photography, and there's no better way to experience a photograph than in print. So if you have that kind of visual branding going on, print is the best way, I think, you can show off your content to the audience that you're trying to attract.
Great. Well, we'll wrap up with that. We've spent a half hour. Thanks to all of you that tuned in live. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back again next month with another topic, which is yet to be decided. But we'll promote that and tell everybody. Go ahead, Catherine.
Any suggestions, tweet us at 2120 Marketing, please. We want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely, and spread the word. Let people know what we're doing, and maybe we can grow an audience. And thank you again for interacting with us, Megan and Robert in particular. All right, we're signing out.
Megan, Robert.
See you guys.
Bye.